All right, good afternoon, everyone. This is KNRNFM.com, internet award-winning internet radio, 12:38 p.m. here in Southern California. This is Ken Norris. I am joined today by Mark Eisenhart and Traci Lynn Cowan. Did I say that correct? Cowan?
Yes.
All right. Yeah. Basically, how's everybody doing tonight? Oh, sorry, tonight, this afternoon. How you guys doing?
We're doing good.
I'm doing great. Traci just got done working out. I've actually had a little time to rest. How you doing?
I'm a little fatigued, but I'm doing great.
Nice. So anyway, let me give everybody a little, tell everybody about you guys. Mark, you have an interesting, inspirational story. We'll get to that and have you tell everybody. But from what I was reading, it's really inspiring. So, I mean, I talked to you on the phone earlier, told you about my little issues, and I don't know how you did it, to be honest with you.
Well, we're going to find out in the next,
Yeah, we're definitely going to find out.
Congratulations on your own weight loss and your transformation and on the award. I didn't have a chance to tell Traci that, but congratulations. The radio station just won an award.
Yeah, it was.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we won the New Media Award for the 23rd. It was the first annual 2013 GOD Awards, which GOD stands for Global Officials of Dignity.
Nice.
Very nice. Good job.
Yeah, we were nominated along with Lisa at Rock This Magazine and another website. I think they were called Cold Heat News.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so there was three of us.
You guys get to walk the red carpet at the Playboy Mansion with Rock This Magazine too, or did you guys get edged out of that?
Well, actually, I couldn't. I have a day job. I couldn't go, so I sent my niece over to the award show. So she went and she accepted the award, and it was kind of interesting. But since then we've gotten invites to a lot more stuff. And actually, that's kind of funny that you mentioned that. 2 weeks ago, on a Monday, Lisa had told us about a Playboy Mansion event. And she sent me the info, but I got it too late.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Lisa.
Well, she told me about an hour ago, and I'm like, hey, look, I'm a bachelor. If you guys need a representative for the magazine at future Playboy Mansion events, let me know. And she goes, okay, be ready. I'm like, yeah, do you think? I'll be ready.
Yeah, she told me about it, and I'm like, Lisa, you going to the mansion? She goes, yeah, I got my girl going there. I'm like, oh, did you send me the info? She goes, I did. But by the time I got home and responded, the deadline already passed. I was so bummed out.
Well, I'm actually just going to share, just as an aside real quick, and then I know we have to get started, one part of the human interest side of my story that hasn't turned up in many interviews but will be in my book. As a result of going through this transformation, I think you know this, but I've actually gone out on a date with 3 centerfolds and 2 cyber girls. So naturally, I have a vested interest in getting to the Playboy Mansion anyway. So just as a little aside.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's, again.
It would have been like a pipe dream 3.5 years ago for me, right? But turns out that it's something I can sort of reflect back on and go, wow, who knew, right?
Yeah. I mean, but again, that's all part to what you've done for yourself and how you've changed your life and how you've bettered yourself. And, hopefully we'll get into all that good stuff. So basically what I've got here is you're a motivational speaker. You're also an actor and an athlete. Is that correct, Mark?
That's right, yeah.
Okay. So basically just tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I have been an athlete my whole life. I played football and wrestled in high school and college and played semi-pro with the Portland Raiders. But I've also struggled with an eating disorder and with yo-yoing and weight management my whole life. And I've always wanted to be an actor. I mean, I grew up when I was too young, I was reading comic books and graphic novels. And then when I was old enough to be able to watch television and film, then I just, took a liking to it right away and wanted to act my whole life. So I was given a second chance 3.5 years ago, and it became readily apparent to me as a result of going through that experience that this was my opportunity to create for myself the life that I always wanted and to do the things that I've always wanted to do. And I enjoyed being an athlete so much for all the obvious reasons, but also because I was great to be a member of the team and be part of the community, and I like pushing myself and being me against me. So when I came through what I came through 3.5 years ago, it became readily obvious to me that this was my opportunity to be given a second chance and to really take that as far as I could. And I took a liking to acting right away. I got cast in some stuff right away that was fairly, right off the bat. I moved back to Portland, Oregon, and I was doing stuff, small parts, just nothing major, but when I got on set for Leverage and Grimm on TNT, and then did some stuff on MTV, and then later competed on American Ninja Warrior, I got bitten by the bug, and I'm like, oh my God, I love this. I can't imagine doing anything else. So that's kind of how it all started.
As far as the sports, what kind of sports did you play?
Well, as I said, I played football in high school and college, and in semi-pros with the Portland Raiders. I also wrestled, and then I took up climbing and outdoor leadership. I worked actually in outdoor leadership for several years in my early to mid 20s, and was mostly focusing then on snowshoeing, mountaineering, backpacking, but also some rock climbing and kayaking. And I started guiding after that, and then I did search and rescue for 6 years. So I really took my climbing up to the next level when I was in great shape as a younger man. I used to work with Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue as a medic firefighter. So as a result of the skill set I developed there as a medic firefighter, that was a logical evolution for me to get involved in search and rescue, and that helped me take my climbing up to the next level. And in fact, a little over a year ago, I'm talking Traci into this right now, actually, to do this in LA. I rappelled 500 feet off the second tallest building in Portland as a publicity stunt for a youth organization. And it was a blast. The local news covered it, called it Spider-Man for a day. But I love climbing. So if I had to identify what my sport of choice is and what my passion is, it's climbing. I've set my intention once I reach my goal here. We're going to talk a little bit about my transformation goals in a minute, but to focus on climbing, because climbing is me against me. It's not me against the mountain, you know, it's me against me, and it's an opportunity to be out. I'm an explorer in my heart, and I like being above tree line. I like being in the backcountry. I like facing objective challenges like rockfall and avalanche and icefall and inclement weather. And I like being as far away from computers, laptops, cell phones, and all that stuff as possible. So that's my passion for sure.
Wow. You know, you'll never catch me doing what you did on the side of a building. Sorry. I just don't. I can't do it. I can't do it. No, I can't do it. They want
to get her to do it at least once.
No, they tried to get me on that thing out in Vegas where with the circus, you know, where you got the bungee and you jump down. It's like, no, not happening. Not happening.
Yeah, jumping does not sound fun to me because, in my opinion, there's too much of a chance for like a rapid deceleration injury. That doesn't sound like much fun. I totally want to base jump, and I totally want to skydive and do some things along those lines, but just the idea of being hooked up to a cord that's going to put that kind of jolt on my C-spine, that doesn't sound like fun to me at all.
No, it's not fun at all. So
if it goes right, this doesn't sound fun to me.
No. But, you know, people do it every day, and it's just like, I don't know what they're thinking. But, hey, I mean, if they enjoy it, they enjoy it, but you're never going to catch me doing that. That's for sure. So, wow. But it's amazing because you're telling me about the stuff you're doing now. But if we go back a couple of years ago, you know, it was completely different for you. You were, what, 455 pounds at one point?
That's right. So thanks for asking. Let's go back to where this started. My life started to spin out of control in my mid-30s. Yes, I worked for the fire department. I was a medic firefighter. And let me go on record as saying I was decorated twice. I was decorated with a Medal of Valor and a Community Service Award for heroism. So I had a great career, but like many other professionals in the fire service and in emergency services, I was doing a great job of not dealing with all the things that were piling up as a result of that career. I was a poster child for post-traumatic stress disorder. So as those experiences continued to pile up, and as I continued to not deal with them, and then they get backlogged, pretty soon I started to realize that I was losing control over what was going on in my life, and I was starting to lead a very unhealthy lifestyle, and I was going back to bad habits that I had with overeating and binge eating and processed foods. And then very quickly things went from bad to worse when my dad, a man that I refer to as my best friend, my hero, and my true north, was diagnosed with advanced stage cancer. He subsequently beat cancer to die of liver disease. So when that happened, everything that was bad got worse very quickly, and I started abusing drugs and alcohol, and the PTSD kicked in, and next thing you know, I wasn't in control of my life. My eating disorder was. I had diabetes. I had a lot of comorbidity along with that, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. So I landed squarely at death's door about 3.5 years ago.
And it was due to the unfortunate death of your father that made you turn around and open your eyes. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, and let's take a closer look at that. I've said this on a couple of interviews to sort of set up what's going on with my book, and this sets up Traci's story very nicely, and I'll ask her to kind of respond to it. In my view of things, everything is a reflection of something else. So if you look very closely at the experience of what happened to my dad, his weight was cut in half, and all of the diseases that he was either dealing with at that time or that came as the result of his illness not only robbed him of his livelihood, but ultimately killed him. So I took that disempowering experience and I used it as a catalyst for me to cut my weight in half and to eradicate all the diseases and the comorbidity that I had at the time of my rock bottom to restore myself to vibrant health and to restore my livelihood. I took a disempowering experience and turned it into an empowering experience. And Traci, this is one of the reasons when I'm so excited to be working with Traci is because she has a story that's very similar to mine. I wonder if you would just tell the audience real quick kind of what happened with you and how we ended up meeting, because it's a perfect alignment.
Absolutely. Mark and I met. Well, Mark was very persistent. He reached out to me over Facebook, and I wasn't very receptive at first, but he was persistent, and I saw something different in Mark than I had in all the other 5,000 followers that I had on my Facebook, and after time, he kind of pushed forward, and we had a Skype call, and we just really connected, and Mark telling me his story, and the same thing had happened to me. My mom was very, very sick. She ate unhealthy and had an unhealthy lifestyle my whole life growing up. And I always had, a different view on life, and unfortunately, it came to take her life. She died of cancer 2 years ago, and that's when I decided, after abusing drugs and alcohol and eating disorders, that I was going to make a change. I was always in the fitness industry, but I decided then that I was going to take it to the next level, and I decided to put all of my grief and different emotions and things that I was battling with, and I pushed it into my fitness. I'm now a national level figure competitor after 1 year competing, and I'm coaching athletes, and Mark's personal trainer and coach, and my life has just completely changed, and I just completely transformed, and it's an honor to be working with him, and all my other athletes and all my other clients, and just hopefully we can carry this message and let people know that you can make a change, and anything is possible.
Well, let me ask.
I asked Traci to share that just because I did a lot of research out there. Let's face it, there's a lot of incredibly competent and talented trainers and coaches out there, but I liked everything that I read and researched about Traci, but I also wanted to align myself with someone who could really relate to my story and my experience. She confronted her own demons. She lost her mom. She turned a disempowering experience into an empowering one. And I felt that we needed to have that common ground in order to really, be successful. And I, very early on in the first conversation that I had with Traci, I told her, look, I've got very specific but very ambitious goals. I'm not saying I want to just get in the best shape of my life. I'm saying, look, I'm not going to stop until I get the cover of Men's Health magazine, and after that, I'm not going to stop until I become the next American action hero. I know it can be done. I also know it's going to be the hardest thing I've ever done, and I have to ramp up to it, and I have to work my tail off. And you can't produce scientific results without a scientific method. But I'm committed to the process 1,000%. I just need to put in my diligence and need to make sure that I have expert guidance. And so I think I share that because, and asked her to share that because we had to have a common ground that we could both, understand and relate to each other and connect on, and we have that.
Well, let me ask Traci this. Traci, what is it like working with Mark, and what are your challenges with his unique situation?
Working with Mark is very interesting. Some days are challenging, and some days, I'd say that what it's doing is it's putting me to the ultimate test as a trainer, as a human being. as a coach, and just I'm learning a lot about myself as well. Mark is very determined. He's very, very, very hardcore. He will go until he cannot go anymore. I'm teaching Mark that you need to walk before you can run. This is what I tell him every single day. I mean, this guy goes and goes and goes and goes. He asks a lot of questions. Sometimes,
Too many
a
questions.
little too many. We cap him off at about 50 per hour. But it's good. Mark's doing really, really well, and we're really sliding into the diet and nutrition part of it as well. The fitness he's getting down, we're getting down his form. We're really working safely with him, making sure his techniques are proper. Mark will be training with me until he's in Vancouver. And it's been great. We're learning a lot about each other, and we're learning how to fight well too.
Well, let me add a couple of things. What Traci is kind of politely tiptoeing around. We're actually in. I've been in Vancouver, BC now for almost a month, where she's based, and then she's coming to LA next month, and then for part of September. So she's helping me to harness the bull, because it's all well and good to be motivated and driven and ambitious and all that, but there's a point at which even that can get in your own way. And so that's all well intended and all that. And I suppose, I don't know, I hope it's easier to work with that kind of client than not, but you still have to find a way to focus that, right? One of our mantras is focus the fire, right? I mean, I'm on fire. I've just got this firestorm that's rising in me, but you have to focus it. And there's early on when we first started training and we would be done, I'd be like, really? Or seriously, I can do more. Let's do more. And she'd be like, no, you don't have to do more right now. Your body needs rest. And I'm like, but I've got more energy. So what we started doing, obviously, is really stepping up my game so that when we're working together, our first session in the morning, an hour and 15 minutes, it's all out war. It's really intense. It's very strict form. Traci's a great strategist. For when it comes to technician, she's very intuitive. But I told her the other day that my initials ME no longer stand for Mark Eisenhart. They now stand for maximum exertion. So it's about harnessing that and focusing that, and then knowing that the rest time, the downtime is just as important as the workout.
And what's interesting about it is you said you started this kind of later in life, not early. And as a lot of people know, if you start the bodybuilding, you start the working out process early in life. From what I was told, is the older you are, the harder to build the muscle and to get into better shape. I mean, does that affect you at all, or is that completely nonsense?
Well, I'm going to ask Traci to respond to that from the trainer's point of view around the physiology and the hormones. But I just want to say that, started everything late. Because let's face it, I just turned 44. And although Hollywood doesn't have any problem casting an older man in the lead role, even for, action film. Like Jeremy Renner was 41 when he was cast in Bourne. Daniel Craig was 39 when he was cast in Bond. Let's face it, I got a lot of work to do to ramp my resume up to the point where I can compete in the LA market. I'm not bucking to be the guy who's the cop on the TV show who's drinking coffee and eating donuts, right? No offense to that guy. That's all well and good. But I moved to LA to take my acting game up to the next level, and I see that as being cast in the lead role in an action film. So I'm going to ask Traci to respond to whether there's any specific genetic or hormonal physiological challenges with me being, I just turned 44. What do you think?
Well, you know what? Mark has a good base, and he does have a muscular frame. So, there's muscle maturity. So I think with his base that he already has a foundation that he's built. Playing football and just in his industry that he was in before, and wrestling, absolutely. So he's lucky. Teaching form and technique is definitely more challenging as we get older. So you do have muscle memory on your side when you do train starting younger, and if you pick it back up again, say you took a little bit of a break. But it's kind of like Mark's a bit of a bull in a china shop when it comes to getting in the gym. So it's like just slow him down and get him into the proper form before we do anything. And it doesn't matter. We don't need to be lifting like 50-pound dumbbells to do bicep curls. You can use 20-pound bicep curls and get the same results. I mean, and that's just teaching him, how to do the compound exercises and things like that. So we do it safely. We maximize it so we get the best results quicker.
Keep in mind, my background, I was successful as an athlete, as a football player, and as a wrestler, but I had a history of just powering through things and being successful because of brute force determination, right? This is a very different approach. We have very specific goals. We've set our long-term goal for me to get down to and maintain my ideal body weight, but also lean body mass. Now, we're not exactly sure what that is right now. I'm just under 6'1". But before that, my specific goal, I'm currently on some forums like bodybuilding.com, Fitness RX for Men, Fit Figures magazine. I'm in the August issue of September issue of Muscle and Body magazine. So I'm going to shred down to 210 pounds and 7% body fat. That's a very ambitious second transformation. You're not going to get there through brute force determination and willpower. It doesn't work. You have to train smart, you have to train safely, you have to train effectively, and you have to have a super clean diet. I suspect that at least 70, maybe 80% of the results are going to come from diet. So once I've hit that goal, that benchmark, then we're going to reevaluate, okay, 210 and 7% is neither my ideal weight or my ideal lean body mass. Let's find out what that is, and then let's create a program to maintain it.
Yeah, I mean, like I was telling you earlier on the phone, I understand where you're coming from, and again, I ran into that problem with the diabetes. I was diagnosed about a year and a half ago, and at the time, I weighed 325 pounds, and I'm 6'1". Immediately after finding out about it, I kind of remember when I was sitting in the emergency room, the nurse looking at me going, well, you're going to lose weight now. I'm like, really? You know, she just came out and told me that, and I kind of took it as a smart-ass comment from her, if you be honest with you. But it made me realize what was going on, and sure enough, within 6 to 7 months, I dropped 80 pounds.
Oh, good for you.
And basically the way I did it was I cut out, like I was telling Mark earlier, I cut out all sugar, literally just cut it out, dropped it off. I would take in no more than anywhere from 14 to 1,600 calories a day. I mean, my day would begin with me stopping at Subway, getting the lowest caloried foot-long sandwich you could think of.
Mm.
And I would have half for lunch, half for breakfast. Then I'd come home and have something else. But I kind of got myself into that position where I put my mindset on that, and I saw the weight coming off. I started feeling a little bit more healthier, a little more energetic.
Yeah.
And to this day, I try to stay away from sugar. I got used to using aspartame in my coffee in the morning. And be honest with you, I tried to have some sugar not so long ago, and I didn't like the taste of it. I went back to the other stuff. But again, like I was telling Mark earlier, it's the whole fact of motivating yourself and keeping yourself on that goal. Because once I lost that weight and when it came back down, I kind of fell off that routine. Now I'm back up. Now I'm back up to 305.
Yeah.
So it's one thing with me is it's always gone up and down. It's like I'll get into that mindset where I'll start losing it. I'll be good with it. I'll go to the gym. You know, I got my gym membership I pay for every month. But then all of a sudden something happens where I just fall off of it, and I'm back. Okay, now I get to do this all over again. So Mark, you know, basically like one of the questions I asked you earlier, and I'm going to ask you now is what you being a motivational speaker and you having the story to tell. What would you tell someone who keeps falling off the wagon, if you will, who will get on it, do good for 6 months, and fall back off? Because it's really hard for people with the mindset to get on that program and stay on that program. How would you help someone with that?
I get asked that question a lot, as you can imagine, and I'm going to respond to that question. But my sense is that you had something you want to say in response to the sugar thing.
The sugar is the biggest thing, and it's the number one killer out there. It's the biggest addiction out there as well. You know, beyond drugs, alcohol, anything. And I also suffer from that myself. With the sugar, and that was the biggest thing for me to lean out from my competitions and also just to be healthy. I can feel the difference in my body and my mind and everything as soon as I cut out the sugar. But once you wean that out of your body, it's just trying to keep it out, and then finally your body gets into this like set mode where it says, you know what, I don't need this anymore, and that's where you want to be. So, but that's a fight, right? So that's you get to that place where it's like that battle, you can kind of feel like you're teetering the other way, like it's pulling you in, but you know what, you just say no, and then you start making different choices and things like that. But and then I'll let Mark share, and I also, can help with the other part of it, staying on track as well.
And in your defense, if you do your diligence around this, there's a lot of research on the internet about like what's happening in the neurochemistry of the brain when you ingest sugar, like what's going on and how you can, how that can be habituated over time. So, give yourself, cut yourself some slack, be compassionate, because what you're dealing with is what a huge segment of the American population deals with. If you start reading labels and ingredients and you see, like in many cases, how sugar is not only there, but it's the first ingredient listed, or worse yet, it gets snuck in various shapes and forms because a lot of people don't realize that things are converted so easily to simple sugars. So it doesn't show up necessarily on the label as sugar, but it's in there like 3 or 4 times. So in your defense, you do your diligence around it and know that you're not alone. There's 6.8 billion people on the planet that to some extent are dealing with the same problem. So let me answer the question, because I get to ask this a lot. The single most important thing that I did, and the reason that I was and continue to be successful, is because I did what I call the work of the interior, and I'm still doing the work of the interior. I do it with all the members of my team. With Traci, we use things like visualization techniques and mantras and affirmations. And one of the most important members of my team is Tom Terwilliger. He's an achievement mentor, but he's a guy who's a former Mr. America, two-time Mr. Olympia contender, an elite level athlete. He's a motivational speaker. He's authored 2 best-selling books on transformation and healthy mindset. He writes on healthy mindset for Muscle and Fitness magazine. So the reason I was and continue to be successful is because I got to the subconscious mind. Don't get me wrong, the weight loss is important. Reversing the diabetes is important. But the most important part of my story, the most compelling and the part that the American public needs to hear, is what happened in between my ears. I got to the subconscious mind. I will go on record as saying that in my view of things, what I had fundamentally was a drug problem. By definition, any substance which ingested, inhaled, or otherwise absorbed into the bloodstream, which causes a chemical chain reaction in the body, is a drug. Therefore, by definition, food is the most abundant drug on the planet. Now, don't get me wrong, we have to have it for our sustenance, right? But it is a drug, and what I had was a drug problem that was out of control. So when I got that problem under control and I was back in control of my life instead of my eating disorder, and I finally decided to slow down and process and deal with all the things that had compiled over time, the post-traumatic stress from the career as a firefighter, medic, as a search and rescue man, all the experiences backlogged and the emotions of me being the fat kid on the playground that everybody made fun of, that just caused my self-esteem to fall through the floor. I'm an abuse survivor too as a child. I won't go into any detail about that, but I didn't process those experiences. I didn't deal with them, and they don't just magically disappear. They just get backlogged. They get shelved, and then you get to deal with them later in life. So, in response to your question, I know that's kind of a long answer, but that's why I was and continue to be successful, because I did the work between my ears. And that's where transformation starts if it's going to be permanent or sustainable.
Well, you said you have proof that your whole life can change in an instant. What do you mean by that?
Well, that's a great question, because, and I'll tie this into the conversation, the last lucid conversation that I had with my dad on his deathbed. Again, my dad beat cancer to die of liver disease. So what I mean by that statement is, this is going to be hard for some of the listeners and the viewers to hear, but I want to go on record as saying that at the time of my rock bottom, I had barricaded myself inside my house, booby trapped my windows and doors, and had a gun to my head for 3 days. I wasn't just depressed, I was suicidal. I had nearly completely lost touch with reality. I was living, I don't know if you know much about anxiety disorder, but I was living in a state of delusional fear. Okay, I was not, in fact, I wasn't living back then, I was dying. So that is no way to be. And to get to that point where I have a gun that's powerful enough to blow my head clean off my shoulders up to my temple for 3 days with a round in the chamber and the hammer cocked, I assure you that's not living, that's dying. So what I mean by that statement is the instant at which I put that gun down and I decided to make good on the promise that I made last loose conversation I had with him on his deathbed, which was to get my life under control, to drop the weight, to get rid of the diseases, and to restore myself to the kind of vibrant health that I enjoyed during my prime. I vowed to do that, to make it more important to me than anything else, to make it my highest priority in my full-time job, or to die trying.
That's
Now, in
yeah,
order,
that's
the very first thing I had to do was raise the white flag and ask for help. And, I was admitted to the hospital and partial hospitalization program, outpatient program, and all the things that happened. But as a result of doing that, I made the leap. I took the leap, if you will. I stopped doing what was familiar to me and I started doing what was best for me. And
yeah,
that made all the difference in the world. I was inert in my ways of thinking, I was inert in my ways of doing, and I was inert in my ways of being. And make no mistake about it, that was the most terrifying thing I've ever done because I had no idea what that looked like. I was literally at that moment where you jump, trusting that the net will appear. And it worked. I started doing, I didn't know what for me, so I just started identifying what I had been doing, and I knew where that was getting me. That was killing me. So I started doing the opposite of it. And when you start doing that, pretty soon the path to what's best for you starts revealing itself to you over time. Because if you keep doing what you've always done, we've heard this a million times, right? Guess what? You're going to keep getting the same result. And that almost killed me. So just by virtue of the fact that I stopped doing that and started doing what was unfamiliar to me, then change started happening, and it worked.
yeah. That's very very inspiring. I'll tell you from what I'm hearing, and I really hope people take your message to granted and they listen to what you have to say. I mean, example for me, I've been there. I put the weight on. I went to the emergency room with a 495 sugar level. Um, luckily I've been taken off the medication. It's been about 8 months now since I've been off it. Yes, I have put the weight back on, but I do still check my blood sugar every other day, and it's still within normal levels. So I guess I'm lucky for that at this point, even though I put the weight back on.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, this is KNRNFM.com Internet Radio.
Well,
We're
I'm glad
live, and
you said
we
that
got Mark
because
Eisenhart.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I was dangerously close to the point at which I couldn't make that choice anymore. It was only a matter of time before I had a heart attack or a diabetic coma. So I was impinging on that point at which I didn't have the option to make that choice anymore.
Yeah, but what it comes down to is, again, it comes down to people getting put into a position where they actually have to face that type of reality,
Yeah,
to where they're
Yeah,
going to actually make that choice or not, and then whether they're going to stick to that choice.
yeah, that's right.
You
yeah.
know,
And
and
that's the thing for me as well too. I didn't just wake up one day and say, you know what, I was gonna be a different person. I was not gonna have, suffer from bulimia anymore. I had to go to counseling for years and years and years and years, and figure out what the issues were that made me do these things and what I was trying to deal with. And after stuffing your feelings and not dealing with things for so many years, I had no idea. I just thought that it was an action that I was doing, with bulimia, but it actually wasn't. It was the emotional, pain that I
Yeah,
was dealing with from my childhood, and I was just trying to, figure it all out. But I mean, and you're never really healed from it. Like as Mark says, it's like continuously with you, but you have to internally work on it because it starts from within, and it's not just all out here on the surface. It's definitely on the inside, and making sure you're taking care of nurturing your body and nurturing your mind and nurturing your soul as well.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we got a warning on the computer that says we're on reserve battery power. So I'm gonna see if I can snag the power cable real quick. I'll be right back because I don't want this interview to get cut short. I'll be right back. Hold on a second.
all right, no problem. Anyway, you listen to KNRNFM.com Internet Radio. We got doing a live interview with Traci, Lynn, Cowan, and Mark Eisenhart, also known as the Man on Fire, but according to him, he's now known as Mr. Extreme. So, anyway, we're gonna be right back in 1 second. So hold on, everybody.
Is there a wall outlet somewhere behind you? Hold on, we're getting this sorted out here. Hang on a second. We have power.
No, that's fine. I went ahead and stopped the recorder for a second.
Okay. Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Where's the? Oh, it's on this side. Okay, watch yourself. We're gonna have to move it over. It's
All right, you're listening to KNRNFM.com Internet Radio. There's got our guest on the line. We have Mark Eisenhart, the man on fire, and Traci Lynn Cowan. Traci, you're a national lever figure competitor. Is that correct?
I sure am.
And you have a competition coming up. You want to tell everybody about that?
I do. I'll be competing at a national level. So our show is here in my hometown, Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And I'll be competing on August 17th. And for my chance to, I'm going for my pro card. So it's a big show for me. I've been training all year for it. And I'm just in my last 4 weeks of training. So it's things are starting to get real and getting really excited. So we'll let you know the results after it's over.
show them the guns. Show them the guns.
This is my left arm.
I'm seriously, one of the nice things about working with Traci is that her work ethic is off the charts. I mean, she's a very competent and diligent and enthusiastic and intuitive trainer, but when it's her time to train, she kills it. This woman has got goddess. So she has taken the fitness industry by storm, and it's great to, I've been asked, we just did an interview last week, and I've been asked a couple times about what it's like to have a female personal trainer and what it's like to work with Traci. I've worked with both, with men and with women, and I've had success with both, but I believe I work better with a woman because of a number of reasons, chiefly because a woman doesn't look at a man's physique the same way that a man does. Even if you ask, in my experience, this isn't always the case, I suppose, but even if you tell your coach or your trainer that what your specific goals are, a guy still tends to think in terms of barreled chest, cannonball delts, big biceps, right? Women don't do that stuff, right? And because if I'm ever feeling tired or short on motivation or whatever, Traci is the embodiment of what I intend to attract in the way of a life partner. And I believe that when I reach my goal of 210 and 7%, it's going to put me visually, it's going to align me from an aesthetic point of view with the kind of woman that I want to attract as a life partner, a woman who herself is an athlete, who's an actress, who has a certain specific look. So if I'm ever struggling with motivation about things, and I've talked with Traci about this in the past, because it's not meant to objectify her, it's not meant to be disrespectful. It's a tribute to her, it's a compliment to her because she works hard. If I'm ever struggling, I just look at her and I go, okay, man up, pal, suck it up. Seriously, you're a 44-year-old bachelor. Keep your eyes on the prize, keep focused on what you're doing, and she reflects, a certain what's a part of what's at the core of my motivation back at me, and that's very powerful for me. It's very effective.
Traci, let me ask you this: what would you like to share with the audience about your experience working with Mark to advance his career goals? Mark has told us already he has plans to go to Hollywood and take it by storm and become the next Arnold Schwarzenegger, if you will. So, do you think he's up for it? I mean, are you up for the challenge of getting him there?
I'll be back.
You know what? Well, when I said in the interview here too, I knew Mark was different. You know what? I'm always up for a challenge. I knew this was going to be I'm going to call it a project just because this is. It's a huge task at hand. I'm very passionate about what I do. I love what I do. I don't do this for the money. I do it for the results. I do this for seeing Mark's face when, like we saw some results today. We'll just put it that way. We're not going to share with anyone because we wanted.
Oh, come on. You got to share the results. It's okay.
But we're getting some results here, and you know what? This is what makes me, as a trainer, just go, wow. You know what? This is exactly why I'm doing this. Mark is gonna blow full steam ahead without a doubt. You know what? He's tenacious. He's ambitious. He's devoted. His dedication is remarkable. And you know what? I'm inspired by him every single day. I saw his stories. I did research on Mark, before I even met with him, and like endless hours of research, and I was just blown away. What he has, I want. So you know what? I aligned myself with him as well. And a power team. We've got, we definitely have what it takes. We want to inspire and motivate and tell people, you know what? you can make a difference. It's not about being successful. This isn't what it's about for us. I think I can speak for Mark because we've talked about this many times. But it's about showing the world that, you know what, you can take yourself from the lowest of lows and bring yourself up
That's
and
right.
keep going. You know what, sky is the limit and do not stop there. Just keep going.
And let's face it too, the part of the reason that I've chosen very lofty and very ambitious goals is because what I want my experience to land, my dad impacted my life in a way that will change me forever. Let's face it. And I want my experience to impact people's lives in a way that they're changed forever. I am proof that everything is possible. I mean, I should have been dead 3.5 years ago, and I'm about to prove it again. And so I've chosen career goals, lifestyle goals that are in alignment with redefining what is possible. Make no mistake about it. I have easily 2 to 3 years of brutal hard work ahead of me. I mean, in addition to personal training, I'm doing things like, working with, here in Vancouver, I'm working with Johnson Fan, who's a martial arts and stunt choreographer and trainer. He's worked on films like X-Men, Wolverines. He fought Jet Li on film. We're establishing a foundation. You want to talk about an example of like harnessing the bull. This is all about me just really learning to relax and go with the flow and channel my energy and just be, it's the Chinese martial arts. It's Wing Chun, so it's a totally different experience than I'm used to. Also, in the future, going to be doing some parkour training and some other weapons and combat training. I mean, I'm developing a skill set that will put me in a competitive market and be able to have traction there. So I've easily got 2 to 3 years, maybe more, of hard work ahead of me, but I'm committed to it. And I know that with Traci's guidance and the expert guidance of the other members of my team, I'm going to nail it. And the key for me, and this is another thing that Traci and I share in common, is more than just a positive attitude. The key for me is just believing with every fiber of my being that there is no situation, no circumstance, no predicament, no barrier that's going to stand in the way of this happening. Just believing that with and I put up this thing on Twitter recently, and I saw it got retweeted by a number of people, including a Maxim Hometown Hotties model, because she really liked it. And the tweet was, believe so strongly in what you intend to create for yourself that it has no choice but to manifest. So one of the things that I like about working with Traci is that faith and that belief system that we share, that this is totally happening. It's more than just a positive attitude. But it's also doing the work, right? You don't put that intention out there and believe in it and then not do the work. You still got to ramp up to it.
No, exactly. Well, let me ask you this. I know you mentioned your father. Tell me about the promise you made to your father on his deathbed.
Let me tell you, that whole experience just absolutely gutted me. My dad was, he essentially became a prisoner in his own body. He was early on advanced stage cancer in his throat, and it progressed very quickly. And so the doctors prescribed a very aggressive treatment of chemo and radiation, which succeeded brilliantly in putting the cancer into remission, but then caused a pre-existing diabetic cirrhosis to go into overdrive. So we had like 2 weeks of, elation and what felt like triumph, followed by bad news that the diabetic cirrhosis was going to overdrive, and went very quickly from bad to worse, and his body started shutting down one system at a time through sepsis. So in the last lucid conversation that I had with him, because at the end there would be times when I was talking to my dad and we were communicating and he was lucid, and there were times when he was just out there and the toxins were pooling in his bloodstream and he was hallucinating, and we were talking to each other, but I have no idea where he was. He was out in left field, and that was just brutal to watch my dad become a wraith right in front of my eyes. So I vowed in that conversation that I had with him to honor his life, to honor his memory in whatever way I thought I could, whatever way best served him. Keep in mind, my dad did not let me down one time in 40 years. That man's integrity was beyond measure. If he said he was going to be somewhere, he was there. If he said he was going to do something, he did it without exception, without fail. So I made him a promise that I was going to not only restore myself to vibrant health, not only drop the weight, not only eradicate the diseases, but I was going to take control of my life. I was going to be the best version of me that I possibly could. I was going to turn my dreams into a reality, and I was going to be what I refer to as my true and authentic self, or I was going to die trying. And I was going to do it in such a way that it paid tribute to his life and his memory. And that was the thrust of the last lucid conversation that I had with him before he died.
I mean, it's sad that things have to happen a certain way,
Yeah.
but sometimes it takes situations or like that to get someone else to realize what's going on with themselves and to think about it and go, okay, well, maybe I should wake up and, because I think about it. I got a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old girl, and I think about it. And I'll tell you, I smoke. I've smoked for 10 years. I've tried to quit. I've quit for a year, but the stress of what I go deal with every day makes me want to go back to it. And I've tried everything from different pills to try and quit this stuff. And I want to do it, and I'm hopefully one day I'll be able to get to do this again. But at the same token, it just takes something drastic for someone to turn around and actually think about what they're really doing. So hopefully hopefully
you don't
people will
know
listen.
how strong you are until being strong is the only choice you have. And I got to find out how much strength I had in reserve on that day. So,
Yeah, I mean, hopefully people listen. Obviously I'm listening, and hopefully other people will listen and take to heart what you're saying, and hopefully they can find that inner self to do this and to get that motivation to go out and change themselves. So, but let me ask you this: you've been cast in a film about a childhood obesity titled Chubs. You want to tell us
yeah.
about that?
So thanks for asking. Talk about taking this to heart. Both myself and Traci have a vested interest in this experience, inspiring people and empowering people, but especially kids. We have a real problem with childhood obesity in this country. So I started my acting career when I moved back to Portland, Oregon, and I worked with Luis Garcia, who's a director, writer there in Portland on a couple of film projects. He was actually one of the first ones that cast me. So I'm delighted to be working with him again. I've actually been cast in a supporting role in a feature that he's directing that starts filming in Portland in the late fall called Eulogy for James. I play a priest called Father O'Flanagan, which is pretty funny, right? Me being a priest. And then he wrote and directed a feature-length film, which we're actually going to start as a film short, but we may do 2 shoots. We may do the feature too, but it's called Chubs. It's a film short about childhood obesity. And the nice thing about it is I play a PE teacher and a coach who takes a young man under his wing who's obese and helps him. But the nice thing about it is that there's an outreach program in place that's planned for this film short. We're going to screen it at after-school programs and boys and girls clubs. We're going to show it to kids. We're going to talk to them about healthy eating and body image and self-esteem. And another thing that a lot of people don't know about is everybody that's involved with the film has set their intention and their goal to lose weight during the course of the production, the filming. So it's going to be very interesting because everybody will be able to share their experience of having dropped weight during this. So I'm excited to be, because I mean, it just tugs at the heart chords, right? At the heartstrings. And I'm also doing a film short when I get back to LA in August with the Synergy TV network around my story, but also around childhood obesity too. So there's going to be, I think, an opportunity for me to work either in a small group setting or in a one-on-one mentoring setting with a child as part of that shoot, that production for a film short in August in LA with the Synergy TV network.
Nice. I mean, that's obviously you're going where you want to go with this, and hopefully everything continues to work out for you. And you're starting with the small films. You're getting the word out, which is a good thing. It's always a great thing, especially for children. Yeah. And before you know it, you're going to be standing opposite Bruce Willis. Maybe in Die Hard 7.
Bruce is awesome.
Die Hard 7 or something.
The bad guy, right?
Yeah.
I definitely want to. I mean, I set my intention to become the next American action hero, but I hope that before that I get casted, I get to play some supervillains because I want to have some fun as the bad guy. For sure. Really? I want to blow some stuff up.
Oh, you want to blow some things up? Nice. Yeah. Well, I heard from some rumors out of Comic-Con that they just had this weekend that they're looking to cast. They're actually doing a film with Batman and Superman together.
That's right.
And they're looking to cast the bad guy. So there you go. Maybe you can get in there.
I love it.
Maybe you can get in there. You never know.
Sounds good.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? You never know where this could take you. So let me ask you this, Mark. What is a day in the life? Your life. What is it like?
Well, a typical. I'm glad you asked that because I think I'll ask Traci to speak to this, and then I'm pretty sure we have to get going to our roping session here. I want to stress the importance of hard training, but also of therapeutic body work. So roping, massage, these are all part of. So speaking of day in the life of, again, what I'll say is that the reason I have and continue to be successful is because I've adopted a whole different way of life, obviously. And I had glimpses of this at different times in my life when I was playing football and wrestling in high school and in college, right? But now I've adapted it 24/7 as a way of being. Now, when I refer to Traci as being my personal trainer and coach, what I mean is that she's a lifestyle and fitness coach. So we talk and we brainstorm and we have meetings and we spend time around, okay, this isn't something you just do for 8 hours a day. This is something that you need to incorporate in your life 24/7. It's in your diet. It's in your active rest periods. It's in your whole approach to everything. So we got to wrap this up here real quick. But so to answer your question, it's getting up early in the morning. It's a green smoothie in the morning before I'm doing my sprint intervals, my cardio. It's a little bit of rest and recovery time, and then it's an intense personal training session with Traci at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm here at Horton Premier Fitness in Vancouver, BC, when I'm training with her, and then she comes to LA and trains with me there. And then it's a little more cardio after that, then a really healthy, balanced meal, a little bit more active rest and recovery, all the stuff that I have to do during the day for my sponsors, meet and greets, speaking events, some stuff online, could be social media. And then, I eat every 2 hours. I eat a plant-based whole foods diet. And then something in the evening in the way of either functional movement training or low-level cardio. I do swimming and yoga in the evenings, or something to keep the metabolism running, but to give myself plenty of time to rest and recover, because I'm going to get up and do it all over again. And I'm doing this 6 days a week. Sunday's my day of rest, my day off. Things like food prep, groceries, laundry, all the things I need to do to pull off Monday through Saturday. So that's a pretty typical day. It's a full-time job.
Wow. All right. Well, I know you guys need to go, and I want to thank both you and Traci for coming on. Very inspirational, and hopefully the listeners will be able to take this to heart and they'll be able to learn something from it. Anything in closing you want to say? Anything you want to put out? Facebook, Twitter?
Just to thank all the members of my team, my sponsors, to thank the editorial staff and the publishers for Rock This magazine. I'm on the cover of the July issue. I want to invite people to reach out to me through my website, which is getempowerednow.com. Empowered is spelled with an I, like impulse power. And thanks to Traci for taking time out to do another interview with me today.
Oh, thank you for having us on here. And I hope that if anyone has any questions and they want to know anything and we can help them, please reach out. You can also find me on Facebook at Traci, spelled TRACILYNN is my middle name, and COWAN is my last name. I'm on Instagram, Twitter under TLC for Tender Loving Care, Traci Lynn Cowan Athletics. And please feel free to reach out. If we can help in any way, we're here for you.
Also, a very special thanks to Gary and Christine Horton at Horton Premier Fitness in Vancouver, BC.
Guys.
Yeah, we got to go, guys. We got roping to go to.
All right, you guys have a good day. And once again, thanks for coming on CanRNFM.com Internet Radio.
Awesome. Thank you.